Hello chess friends, and welcome to another video on the ABC Chess Analysis channel. Today we have one very interesting game which was played between the young Grandmaster Gledura Benjamin from Hungary and the Grandmaster Vladislav Kovalev from Belarus. They played this game on Tata Steel Challengers Group 2019. So we have e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6 and bishop to c4, which is the Italian game or gioco piano. So bishop to c5 was played, d3, knight to f6 and then castle. So d6, c3 and a5, which is top idea of the b4. So rook to e1 and then castle, after that h3, h6, so knight from b to d2 and bishop to e6 offer bishop for trade, so bishop to b5 is not looking for trading, and queen to b8, one very interesting move. After that, White decided to trade a very good bishop on b5 for this knight on c6. That is not so play often, but White did that. So he played bishop takes, and after that b takes, so d4. He wants to open the center and play d4, so e takes, c takes d4 and bishop to b4, which pins the knight and the rook on the same diagonal. So here White play rook e2, but instead of that, it's very interesting if you try to play a3, which attacks the bishop, and there is no way to get back with that bishop, so he needs to take on d2, and after that queen takes d2. So what we can see here, here's the bishop on the square c1, which is not developed yet, and it's not easy to develop that bishop. White need to spend a few more moves, so he need to move the queen first on c2 or e2 squares, and after that, that bishop is free to go. That doesn't look so interested for White, so instead of a3, you play rook to e2, unpin the rook, and after that he's ready to move the knight on f1, for example, and after that the bishop is free. So a4 was played, which top idea of the b3 or something. So a3 attacks the bishop, bishop retreat back, and now e5, open the center and also open the e4 square for the knight. So knight d5 is played, knight e4. Now it's clear what White wants. He wants to develop the bishop from c1 square. And here Kovalev will find one very interesting move. He play f5 with the idea to attack the bishop, but there is an option for White to take ampersand, which is e5 takes on f6. If you try to do that on that way, so knight takes, for example, knight takes and then rook takes, which looks good, but that doesn't happen in the game. So after f5, knight to3 on the g3 square, and after that knight to b6 was played. And then one very interesting move for White. It's some kind of the sacrifice, because he pushed the pawn and doesn't get anything in return. So he played a d5. What he got with that move, the only benefit for his is that square on the d4 for his knight. So after bishop takes, then knight to d4, and that knight looks very good. He attacks the pawn on f5, which is attacked 2 times from 2 knights. And also he gives support for the e pawn, makes pressure on the c6, so generally that's very good square for the knight. So here Kovalev will play f4, which attacks this knight, and after knight to g to f5 he finds a sort of moves which looks very good for him. So let's see that plan. Sacrificing rook, rook takes f5 and knight takes f5, so White is up for exchange. And then queen to f8, which starts with some forced line, because that knight is attacked, knight needs to go somewhere. There's no good square for that knight instead of the d4, so he moves the knight back on the d4. After that, c5 is played, knight is attacked one more time, and after knight goes back on f3, it's time for a bishop to do something. So bishop to b3 attacks the queen, and queen can choose between the d3 and f1 squares. So he chooses to move queen on d3. The same thing will happen if he goes on f1 or d3. So when he moves the queen on d3, then bishop to c4 attacks the queen and attacks the rook, so they are in the same diagonal. So queen moves to c2, and now it's time to get material back, so he can play rook takes e2. But he chose the tactic which says don't rush. So no need to take it immediately. He can do that later and play d5 first. After that, this bishop cannot escape, so he's standing here. e6 was played. Now e5 is a free square for the rook, so black will not wait for that. Bishop takes on e2, and after queen takes, then knight to c4. Knight is coming in the game. So after that, knight e5, so they trade knights on the square e5. Queen takes, and then queen d6. So for queens for trade, because that endgame looks good for a black. And after that, queen takes, oh, bishop takes on f4 square. So if we count the material, we can see that they are equal, but just for a moment, because queen takes on e5, and after bishop takes rook e8, and this pawn on the square e6 is hanging. So rook d1 was played, and after that rook takes the pawn. So bishop is attacked. If white try to take the pawn on the e5, which is not a good move for him, there's a c6 move which attacks the rook, and he needs to go back or somewhere, and this bishop on e5 square is hanging, so that doesn't happen again. After rook takes e6, then bishop 3 back on c3, offer bishop for trade. Black will accept that trading, so bishop takes, pawn takes. And what we have here, there's 5 pawns for white and 6 pawns for black with 2 rooks. So black will defend his pawns, connect them with the c6 move, of course give support to e5. After that, white tried to sacrifice this pawn on c3, so he pushed c4, calculating that if black takes on the c4, he'll play with the double pawn, triple pawn here on the c file, which looks interesting. So d takes, he accepts that trading, so he take that. And now white play one provoking move, which is f3, which opens the square e3 for black rook, which will black use, that's for sure. So he played that, rook e3, make the pressure on a3-1 pawn here. So rook c1 was played, he wants to take all of them, but this endgame is winning for black very easily. Just rook takes c4, and now it's time for a pawn to be pushed down. So rook give a check, king goes to f2, and then a3, of course. So rook takes c5, and then a2, threat to give a check and promote the queen. So here white goes with the move rook to c2, and after rook to f1 check, he resigned. But instead of that, he could try to play rook a5 to play a few more moves. Of course, it's a completely lost game for white, because c5 is coming and this pawn is unstoppable. So if white tries to take that, then still rook to f1 and then promoting. So instead of that, if he try to catch it with the king, if we play king to e2, try to stop the pawn on the c file, then black try this move, rook to g1, threat to promote. So if the rook takes, then rook to g2 to check, and the rook is hanging here. So in this game we saw a few nice moves that black play, especially that sacrifice on the f5, sacrifice of an exchange, and a very interesting position after white sacrifice pawn on the c4. When he plays c4, then we can see triple pawns on c file. So that was one very interesting game played by Benjamin, Gledura, and Vladislav Kovalev. I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Bye bye.